Somebody asked me last week what I wanted to eat for dinner, and then I froze. It was a simple question, should have taken maybe 2 seconds to respond. And yet I paused in my tracks, not knowing what the right answer was. Not because I didn't know, but because somewhere deep inside of me, I went elsewhere looking for that answer without giving myself a chance to respond. And that's not necessarily indecision, it's lack of trust hiding in disguise. If this resonates with you, please hang with me because on this video, we're going to talk about 5 signs that show that you're no longer trusting yourself even if you haven't realized it yet. Here's the tricky part about no longer trusting ourselves. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not where we wake up one morning and overnight we're like, boom, I'm no longer trusting myself. This is more one of the things that happen over time, and it erodes little by little over time, where you might notice it more in the small moments, like maybe in a dinner order, or when it's time to reply to a text, or to speak out loud in a conversation. Sometimes that's where it starts eroding and eating up until one day you are completely outsourcing your decision making into somebody else and it becomes the way that you operate. So let's talk about 5 signs that if you pay close attention, you realize that you are no longer trusting yourself. If you're new here, hello and welcome. My name is Dr. Maria Martinez and this is the Inner Authority Project. And here we talk about all things identity and inner authority and confidence and self-trust for women like you and me in our 50s who maybe along the way stop trusting ourselves, but we are reclaiming this phase of life so that we can start trusting ourselves again. Sign number 1, you start asking everybody else before you ask yourself. And that's not necessarily because their opinion matters more than your opinion. You know your opinion matters, but yet somewhere along the line, we started to ask everybody first and almost depending on those responses before asking ourselves. Or maybe we started to rely on those responses and we adopted those responses as our own. So maybe we stopped checking with ourselves because we realized that we were checking with everybody else and that became the norm. That became the way that we operate. Sign number 2, you override your gut and then you turn around and you call it, well, I've just been reasonable. This is one of those times where we repeatedly know that our gut is saying one thing, but our brain is saying another. Our brain might be saying, oh, what if I'm wrong? Or I don't want to disappoint somebody else. Or maybe I already said yes, right? Your gut is telling you something else, but little by little over time, we tend to want to be the reasonable one and we take pride in that, me included. So over time, we develop that habit that becomes our MO, the way that we operate. And it's a habit worth noticing and catching early on because it overrides not just your intention, but your own signal. And that is not necessarily wisdom, my friend. That's a habit that we have formed and it's worth paying attention so that as it happens, you can stop yourself a little early. There's nothing wrong with being reasonable, but that is one of those little traps where I have found myself trusting myself less because I decided to call it reasonable. So this is one to keep a heavy eye on. Sign number 3, you rehearse conversations that you haven't even had or you're not even sure that will happen. These are those scenarios where you start apologizing in advance or where you start to think about what might be the steps that I take after because we create these very extensive narratives. If I say this and somebody responds this way, what's going to happen? And we start to build that big defense mechanism, right? So we tend to build that defense even without anybody else challenging us or before anybody else challenge us. So this is one of those moments that is really important to keep an eye on, because it is as if a part of you have already decided that your own logic, that your own needs need a defense attorney, that you need a full legal brief to defend yourself. So that's sign number 3, when we rehearse conversations that have not even happened. And keep an eye on this one, because research shows that we worry about more things than actually ever happen. And this is critical, especially when it impacts the ability to trust ourselves. You mistake exhaustion for being needed. This is a tough one, right? This is the moments where we come to that place where we feel, I am so tired, it must be that I am needed. And let's be honest, let's keep it real here, my friends, right? Being tired doesn't necessarily mean that we made an impact or even that we are needed. Often, when we rest or when we slow down and we get alone with our thoughts, we might feel as if we are invisible. But let's remember something. Being depleted is not the equivalent of being valuable. That's a truth bomb. So it's just that it feels that way when we stop checking with ourselves. This sign is also really important because it impacts our level of energy and our ability to make a difference in meaningful ways. And that is our brain looking for signs of, I've made a difference, I matter, I'm tired because I have been doing all of these things. So that's sign number 4. Let's keep an eye on that. And sign number 5, I don't know what I want, comes out almost automatically, as if you are in autopilot, way faster than it used to. I don't know, whatever, right? And this shows up more and more and more often, especially once we get to the 50 plus stage that many of us find ourselves in. We have been so accustomed to accommodating everybody else that we're no longer paying attention to what we want. And it starts with little moments. Maybe it's, what are we going to eat for dinner? Or where would you like to go for this year's anniversary trip, right? Where would you like to go for vacation? What do you want for your own life after we turn 50, when our role is one that might be changing and transforming because of the new roles that we are playing now, or the fact that we're no longer needed in the same roles that we used to? That becomes really critical. It is important that when we think about, I don't know, you remind yourself that might not be true. Sometimes that's just a faster, easier way out. We don't want to deal with it, or maybe we don't want to have to deal with an objection that might not even happen. But our go-to response is, I don't know. Because quite frankly, we may have lost practice in trusting ourselves. So here is our micro interaction for this video. We've talked very clearly about 5 distinct signs that might show us that we're no longer trusting ourselves. So how do we turn all of that around? I ask that you pick one of the 5. Just think about one. Where do you see yourself more often? Do you see yourself exhausted and maybe thinking, I'm exhausted because I'm needed, and that was the one that resonated with you? Or you find yourself almost developing your defense plan, anticipating that somebody might argue with you, knowing that that might or might not happen? Or maybe you are like me, thinking or just coming up with I don't know as your go-to response because maybe we lost a little bit of practice in doing that. So I want us to find the one, and next time that happens, that we catch ourselves in that predicament, I want you to ask yourself, what do I really want? What do I really want? Where do I want to go on vacation? What would I really enjoy eating tonight? What is it that I want to do after I retire? answer the question. Almost put yourself in that position where you have to answer the question regardless. And the reason is because just like we lost practice in trusting ourselves, we can regain that by practicing trusting ourselves. I hope that makes sense. So how do we gain that trust back? By practicing. And the same micro moments that we saw eroding our self-trust and confidence are the same micro moments that if we are fully aware and intentional and present in our day-to-day, we can capture those and start taking it one at a time. If any of these moments today resonated with you, would you do me a solid favor? Like and comment on this video. It's really important because it is my goal to serve as many women over 50 that are on this journey. And I want to build the community. I want to build the resources and the tools so that we can build that sense of trust and confidence back, and that we can have one another for the journey. So like and comment. Let me know in the comment section which of those you find yourself more often. Download my Jumpstart guide and let's tackle this. Let's go together. And if I can be of any service, please again write your comments in the comment section. I look forward to reading your comments. I look forward to seeing you on this journey. And again, I'm Dr. Maria Martinez saying goodbye for now. Take good care.